Welcome into the Set It Off Network. I'm your host, Michael Sedetol. I'm here with Will Volk. We have breaking news as LSU has decided to move on from Brian Kelly and Will. It is crazy how fast things change in this world of college football these days. We've seen it already with James Franklin, Billy Napier, and other coaches along the way. And now Brian Kelly has been added to the hit list. And, you know, me and you kind of talk about this a lot off the record more than we do probably on the record personally with LSU stuff. But we both had the feeling after last week's game in Vanderbilt that this week's game against Texas A&M meant a lot, like for the fan base and for that coaching staff. Now, personally, my thoughts on it was always going to be they probably weren't going to buy him out, right? They probably weren't going to buy him out. They were probably going to fire some coaches and make some changes fundamentally in the program, right? And put that pressure on Brian Kelly, like you got to get it fixed type mentality, right? But then yesterday happens, right? And it's easy to kind of put things aside as far as like your motivation for things when you go on the road and you lose by 5 against Ole Miss, or you lose by 7 to a top 10 Vanderbilt team who's really good, right? There's a lot of resumes out there that probably would have the same fate as LSU's, right? Um, but to describe what happened, I was in Tiger Stadium last night, and to describe the vibe and the toxicity, Will, of what transpired. I mean, it was like watching it had to have been like watching the Roman Empire fall, right? I mean, you're talking about the third quarter comes and goes within 15 minutes, right? And you think to yourself, like, this is it. Like, there's no coming back from it. I completely changed my whole mindset of how I thought about this Brian Kelly situation in a matter of minutes, like legit minutes of a football game. And as Tiger Stadium emptied out and became such a toxic place, I know you said you heard it on the broadcast, all the chants, like, I mean, it became such a thing where Brian Kelly was already on thin ice with the fans. A lot of fans didn't even like the hire to begin with, right? And last night was the opportunity to let your opinion be known. And a lot of folks that stuck around let their opinions be known. And when you have the board of trustees and everybody getting honored before a humongous top 5 home game, and then that happens, um, things go into motion pretty quickly. When you get embarrassed like that at home, I mentioned in my video earlier that me and you went to the Alabama game last year, right? And
Oh yeah.
it's in the expanded playoff era. The last 2 seasons, LSU's season has been on the line twice, and both times at home, you had a chance to make a statement. And it's not the fact that they lost, right? Because I mean, you're going to lose to good teams, like that's going to happen. But the manner in which you lost last year's Alabama game and then what transpired on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium is inexcusable. And, it's going to be a long winded answer here, but this LSU program has higher standards than that. And there's going to be people out there that are going to say, well, you know, 10 wins is 10 wins these days. And unfortunately, at LSU, to go 4 years without a playoff appearance and without any hope of reaching that milestone. I mean, Will, I think the most frustrating thing for fans is that the excuses were piling up. And then every time the athletic department got Brian Kelly what he needed, the same things continue to happen. And they get tired of watching the press conferences talking about it's on me. All the coach speak stuff, they Nobody wants to hear excuses, all right, about why you can't get the job done. You're making this much money. You have every resource that any other football program that is top tier in college football right now has or more, right? Because LSU is a top five job in college football. You have all the resources right there. You are landlocked with recruiting. Like you don't have to compete with any other Division One schools in that. The transfer portal, they give you the big budget this year to go all in. And that is kind of the same thing we talked about with James Franklin, right, Will? This was the year. LSU went all in, $18 million. That's not my words. That's straight out of Brian Kelly's mouth. That they put $18 million into this roster in the transfer portal this season. All right. And the fact that we are here and we are not even in November, Will, and this is a 5-3 football team is inexcusable. And something had to be done about it. All right. I'm never going to be that guy who's going to call for people to get fired publicly, and I'm not going to sit here and trash Brian Kelly because I don't that that's not what this is about. All right, we're talking bigger picture here, but after what happened last night, Will, I literally texted everybody I knew and said something has to be done. Like he was already on thin ice, and maybe if you lose that game by a touchdown, maybe if you lose by 10 and it's a competitive game throughout, maybe you survive. But what happened last night can't ever happen. There's getting beat, and then there's what happened last night. You got embarrassed on your home field and watched a place that was electric for the entire first half clear out in a matter of minutes. It was an unreal experience, almost watching the downfall of the Brian Kelly era live, right? Because you walked out of the stadium feeling like that was it, you know, and I didn't think they were actually going to do it, but here we are sitting here. LSU will be in the coaching search market along with a notable high-profile teams out there.
Man, you have a lot on your mind about this, and I'm sure you did after everything you went through last night. Just from my perspective, watching it on TV, yeah, if I could count, I need to go back and count how many times ESPN cut to Brian Kelly on the broadcast. It was wild. Like once he got into the second half, it felt like after every single play, they were cutting to Brian Kelly, and the look on his face, like I don't know, just maybe bewilderment, just like how is this happening? What's going on? And yeah, to see all the shots of fans clearing out Tiger Stadium, very reminiscent of when you took me there last year to watch them play Alabama. And I mean, you're very right. It's a similar situation. LSU is fighting for their season. They got a big time opponent at night. Tiger Stadium, Death Valley. You're really not supposed to lose there in that environment, but you're really, really not supposed to have that happen. Get the doors blown off and have fans heading for the exits at the end of the third quarter. And, for the second time in 2 years, we've seen that happen. And yeah, I'm sure it was a toxic situation. I don't think we've really talked about like what your experience was like last night. But I'm curious, when did you start heading for the exits, and then like on your way back to your car, heading to the parking lot, what was the atmosphere like just on that walk back?
So I mean, it was almost similar. It wasn't quite as similar because I feel like last year's game we went to, you knew pretty early on that game was not going to go well, right? But this was a complete 180, Will. Like I'm talking about a tale. You want to talk about a tale of two halves, right? I mean, LSU led this football game 18-14 at halftime, and then you look up at the start of the fourth quarter and it's 35-18, and like I said, it's over. And I mean, we can break down the dynamics of the game. We can talk about that stuff. But like you said, that it it was like first and goal from the one, I believe, at the start of the fourth quarter, and I was just honestly shocked, right? Because the punt return happened, right? That put them up 10, I believe. The punt return happened, and I was like, this is it. Like they have lost it. And the thing that probably pissed me off most is I guarantee you A&M walked in that locker room at halftime and told themselves, if we just stop shooting ourselves in the foot, that team on that other sideline is not good. They're damn sure not better than us. Because, you know, we talked about how bad the offense has been. Last night, LSU couldn't get a stop, like, could not get a stop. So you got half a hundred hung on you. So, yeah, we have offensive problems. We got defensive problems too. So, I mean, it was a tale of just everything falling apart. If LSU didn't get a turnover last night, they did not get a stop. I don't think that A&M punted the entire football game. So, that was my mentality, was like, once that third quarter transpired, it was like I mean, it was A&M just had to stop messing up, and they were going to cakewalk to a win. And once they stopped, that's what happened. And walking out of the stadium, I believe it was like the beginning of the fourth quarter. I didn't watch them punch it in from the one. Uh, it was the fourth. It was like that transition between the fourth quarter, or whatever. And I was like, listen, I mean, once they punch it in, this place is going to be a ghost town. And so I was like, we're going to go ahead and go. Heard them from outside the stadium. A lot of F Brian Kelly, a lot of everything walking back to the truck. Honestly, for me, it was just, I mean, it was a quiet walk back, man. It was one of those where you didn't really believe what you just watched type thing, because it really did happen so fast. Like, I mean, I legit looked up at the clock, and they had scored that touchdown. I was like, there's 8 minutes left in the third quarter, and we are losing by 10 points. Like, it got that bad that quick, and there was no hope. There was nothing that was going to bring anybody back, anything like that. And like I said, that place got really toxic. The Fire Brian Kelly trans started earlier than when I left. They were still going on when I was there. I'm sure they continued deep into the night of that football game. I mean, I didn't even watch, like, on my phone or anything like that. I mean, it was just one of those things that left such a sour taste. Like, you got embarrassed that bad. Um, that, like we talked about, there's losing, and then there's what happened last night. It's just that can't happen. And ultimately, when you do that kind of stuff at home in front of the people with the money, who control this thing, they they start making decisions a lot faster, right? Because I feel like if that game was close, Brian Kelly still have his job this morning or tomorrow morning, and he will not. And a lot of people want to talk about the money. Obviously, 53, I think 54 million, something like that buyout, extremely large. But the dynamics of it kind of work out where it's paid over time. And it's also one of those things where if he goes into TV or gets another coaching job, uh, a lot of that salary gets negated. So there's a lot of dynamics into it. I did read that they tried to reach a settlement with him, like me and you had talked about off the record, about him, like, maybe like retiring, and just getting like one big lump sum from LSU and avoiding that $53 million. But they weren't able to work out a deal, and you know what? It's not his fault that LSU gave him that stupid contract. So why not take advantage of it? But Brian Kelly's record, 34-14, that's good enough at a lot of places. Will
South Carolina
uh,
would love that.
19-10 in SEC play. You think about a lot of the good things that happen. I mean, year one, 10 wins, win the SEC West, go to Atlanta, beat Alabama. Year two, you have the Heisman Trophy winner and Jaden Daniels. Year three, you have the big Ole Miss win last year. And like I said, I think a lot of the factors really were more about the fact that they went all in this year. Will, like, this team went all in. They went. There was going to be no more excuses, because every year after every season there was something that the fan base knew, the program kind of knew, like, hey, this is what's holding us back, and maybe they couldn't figure it out at the time, but there was no excuses this year. Um,
This
Brian
I just
Kelly
gotta
had
say,
his. Yeah, what's up?
This feels so much like the Penn State situation where you've really lost the fan base and it feels like it's inevitable. I mean, James Franklin's last game, right? They were booing him out of the stadium. There were chants to fire Franklin, and he had lost the fan base. And it was pretty clear after last night, Brian Kelly has lost his fan base, and there's no way he's going to get them back. And like Penn State, this one here happened very, very quickly. Just very jarring.
Yeah, and I was always of the belief when LSU made the hire of Brian Kelly, right? It was obviously you think optimistically, right? Like anybody does when they get a new coach. I mean, at the time, I mean Brian Kelly's the winningest coach in college football behind Nick Saban, right? So it's not like you didn't go out there and get some random dude off the street. You know nobody really expected Brian Kelly to be on the table, and then all of a sudden he pops up and takes the LSU job. uh, and Brian Kelly's not a very likable person, nationally. Not a lot of people like him. Started to see why towards his tenure, but you know it was always one of those things where LSU's program was in such a mess when he got hired. The back to back 500 seasons from Coach O, 39 scholarship players left on the roster after the 2021 season. So, I mean, Brian Kelly had an uphill climb. And I knew if anything was going to happen with Brian Kelly's tenure at LSU, he was going to bring stability back, right? And I will, a lot of people are going to crap on Brian Kelly today. And I will say one thing that I do appreciate is that he brought LSU back to a respectable place, right? He brought them back to where this job is still important. You know, the LSU brand is always going to be bigger than whoever coaches, whoever plays. Like that's not what I'm saying, but there was a turning point in this program's future in 2022. Like if the trend continued, we've seen teams like Auburn, trying to think of other teams, that over the years, I mean, there's been plenty that, I remember Texas a lot in the early 2010s, right? Just a big brand, but not competing for anything. And LSU was at a crossroads where that was a possibility. And, I will give Brian Kelly credit. He filled that roster up. He did a good job and he won football games. Like you said, there's a lot of people out there that would take that. It's just, and one of the things I love about LSU the most is that the standard's high. Um, and that means that what he did was not good enough. And so I appreciate what Brian Kelly did, but it was time. Like you said, that once you lose that fan base and once you don't have that support anymore, it's only going to get worse. And me and you kind of talked about, I thought he would retire because honestly, I thought you got to show up to work every day with like dudes that just do not like you anymore. And it's like how as a human being could you just go out there and just continue to coach knowing that you don't have the support of anybody. So that was kind of my thought on it. But obviously LSU found the money, figured out a way, and hopefully they got a plan right now with LSU not having an active president. A lot of government officials getting involved because it goes, it's head coach, AD gets hired by the president gets hired by the board gets hired by the governor. So they kind of like bypass that president, and so it's like the government is really involved in this right now. Obviously, they figured out a way to make the money side of it work. But I'm really interested to see how this all shakes out with the coaching searches and honestly, just excited. Honestly, I mean, I hate to use that word on a day like this because there's a lot of coaches on that coaching staff that, are going to have to pack up and find new jobs. And, nobody really thinks about that side of things. But, it's not a good thing that all this happened. And it's easy to look through my lens and say, well, whatever, they're making millions of dollars. There's a lot of people on the staff that aren't making millions of dollars that aren't going to have a job tomorrow morning and got to go home and try to find a way to feed their family. So it's not a easy dynamic. out here rooting for things like this to happen. But as an LSU fan, I'm excited about the future. I'm excited how this program is right now. Honestly, I feel like LSU's program is in a very good spot, financially, competing wise, resource wise. So we've seen it. Will, I mean, we've seen it over the years. Quick turnarounds are not hard to find in this new era of college football.
No, not at all. Texas A&M is the case study for this. It felt like they got the hire wrong with Jimbo Fisher, so they got rid of him. Even a bigger buyout than Brian Kelly's buyout, right? And then they bring in Mike Elko, and man, is that a great hire because they have a pretty good year one. I mean, they were in those conversations for playoff and SEC championship, didn't meet those benchmarks, but now year two, 8-0 and looking like playoff is inevitable and probably a trip to Atlanta. And A&M, you mentioned LSU being a top five job. Feels like A&M's kind of one of those elite top five jobs as well. So if LSU gets the right person, yeah, they can get in here and get this thing going. But the question is, will they get the right person? There's going to be a lot of openings out there. It's wild to think we've got 3 already in the SEC: Arkansas, Florida, now LSU. Penn State's out there, and you have to
Auburn
wonder,
to be
Auburn, will they
determined.
make a
Yeah.
move? So this is a wild, wild coaching search that's going to be happening this year. You think about last year, there were 0 SEC firings. This year we're already at 3, and it feels like that number can continue to climb. So who will LSU be able to get? There's a lot of openings out there. Do you feel like LSU is the best out of all those openings so far?
I, I, I think I don't think it's close. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I mean, if you just look at it from a standpoint, I mean, the Florida job I would probably put up there with on par with LSU, but I mean, Florida's got to compete with Miami now. Florida State's probably gonna be finding a head coach soon, and they're gonna have to compete with him. And then you have those little schools in there that aren't going to pull out all the stops but just enough to kind of piss you off down there in UCF and teams like that are going to attract guys that you could have in your program, right? There's just a lot of space to compete for in Florida, and they're not in the best spot for that, and so if you're from the LSU side, we've seen LSU commit to the NIL side. Actually, it was funny as I met a guy on the plane that works for the Tiger Athletic Foundation, which is the fundraising, and we kind of talked a little bit in depth about what was going to happen, and he gave me a little bit of insight on how that stuff works. It was actually pretty neat to talk to him about the money side of things because that's how decisions get made in college football. Like, you can like somebody all you want, it's all about the money. If the dudes with the money say he got to go, it's time for him to go, and that's what happened with Brian Kelly. I have no doubt about that. But honestly, you know unless the Texas job, I mean, there was those rumors about Sark this weekend. I mean, unless the Texas job comes open, there's not really. I don't think people are lining up to go to Penn State. I don't think people would be lined up to go to Auburn or Arkansas over LSU. Like, I'm saying, like, over LSU. Like, obviously those are great jobs, but um, the real winner of this whole entire thing, Will, is Jimmy Sexton. All right,
Oh
because
yeah.
my man is making bank, and he's going to make even more bank off of the next crop of coaches that get hired this cycle, because they're going to have even bigger buyouts, and you're going to be competing. So, like, say hypothetical, right? Lane Kiffin, right? Name's been dropped for the Florida job. Name might get dropped for the LSU job. Like, imagine the bidding war, you know, like Jimmy Sexton's just on the phone with Florida, like, hey, they're going to pay my man 13, y'all gonna pay him 14. Like, that's legit what's gonna happen. Like, when you have all these coaching off, I mean, maybe obviously LSU has a lot to offer outside of the money side, but I mean, if it's close, well, I mean, if it's close and your decision relies on money, it's gonna come down to, it's almost like high school recruiting now or transfer portal recruiting now. It's like, hey, if everything's the same, I'm just gonna go to the highest bidder type thing. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see how all that plays out.
And imagine what this is going to do for salaries across the country. Think about Kurt Signetti, big name that a lot of people want because he got into Indiana and turned that thing around immediately. Indiana bumped his salary up and he's making like $11 million a year now. So you might have schools who want to keep their coach shelling out millions more dollars per year. So it's just wild what's happening. I was texting this to you earlier, and it's like, Brian Kelly, he had a pretty stable job at Notre Dame. He was there a long time, never really achieved the championship goals, but, he was doing fine, 10, 11 wins a year. And then he went to LSU because, he said off the bat he wanted to go somewhere where he could compete for championships. But now it feels like, you don't have to go to a place like LSU in this new world where you have Indiana, Vanderbilt in the top 10. Feels like you can kind of compete for a championship anywhere now. So, is that element of I'm going to go to LSU to win a championship still in play?
All right, so you did bring that up, and one thing I thought of is do, at LSU you obviously have obstacles that Indiana and all these other schools don't have, and that is the SEC. Like when you take that LSU job, like it you're gonna have to compete with the Alabamas, the Georgias, all of them, right? Week in and week out, and that gap is getting smaller and smaller each day. It feels like of like the quality team, but do you really want to hire a coach? Well, these dudes are like alpha, like the 1% of the one percenters, right? Like they eat, breathe, live competition, right? Like that's what they're. And if they're not, I don't want. First of all, I don't want them, right? You don't want somebody like that. Probably the reason why nobody really liked Brian Kelly. It didn't feel like he had that in him. Um, but if you go to LSU, right, you have the SEC part of it, right? The prestige of that, the the brand is obviously a big thing. The money, obviously a big thing. And honestly, if you go into Indiana, yeah, you can win at Indiana. There's no way that you could pop a national championship out one year and a couple breaks here or there, but at LSU, it's a little different because if you walk up to LSU's boosters and say, "Hey, I won 11 games last year and we got bounced in the second round of the playoffs. I need 20 million to go get players." Like you can't do that at Indiana, and that's like the when I say resources, it's everything outside of like the physical game of football because like there's so many things that go into this thing that we don't see behind the scenes. It's coaches, salaries, right? I mean, we see assistant coaches getting plucked all the time. It's like, hey, like my defensive coordinator wants $4 million. I need y'all to pay him $4 million. Like Indiana can't do that. Like that's a real thing, and so I guess it kind of makes your life a little bit easier, right? I'm not saying that Indiana can't pop a national championship out, but it's like if I go to LSU and I say, "Hey, I need this much, I need this and this and this," and they're like, hey, "Okay, you know, as long as you produce, people really have no problem with that."
But
And that's
producing,
kind of
it's
why
really hard in this new
it
world
is. It's
SEC.
absolutely. It is gonna be the toughest. I mean, because you are literally competing with the best teams in the country, like you said. A&M, top 5 team in the country. Alabama, top 5 team in the country. Georgia, top 10 team. Like, I mean, it it can be whatever you want it to be. Though, like you could be one of those teams. Like we've seen it with Texas A&M. Like you could be them, but it takes a, a different kind of mindset and a different kind of crazy, to want this. And most head coaches are built like that. But I kind of want to throw out some names, right? I mean, we don't really know. Let's be honest here. We don't know like anything. This is just spitballing and names that I've heard, right? Obviously Lane Kiffin is like the number one name right now that everybody's kind of talking about. As far as the LSU side, the names I'm hearing is John Summerall, Tulane coach, that Louisiana background. Uh, Now LSU went the opposite way with Billy Napier, and there was a lot of people in Louisiana circles that was like, "We're not hiring a guy from UL Lafayette." I don't know if that's still a thing. and they're just like, no, John Summerall's not even getting an interview because he's the Tulane coach, and that's like an actual thing. But Lane Kiffin probably be like the top of the list right now. If they had to hire somebody tomorrow, like that would be like the betting favorite, I would think. I mean, we could probably look up the betting odds. But another one to keep an eye out is Brent Key. Brent Key over there at Georgia
Doing
Tech.
great things over there.
Kind of under the radar, built that program literally from nothing, Will. I mean, and got them, what, seventh in the country, I believe now, sixth or seventh now, undefeated team. Wouldn't be my first choice. Not that big of a Brent Key guy. Um, and then there's guys with jobs. Like there's a realistic possibility. Like you could call Kurt Zanetti and figure that out. I mean, yeah, there's buyout and but it's like, hey, you've already spent this much. You might as well go get the guy you want, right? It's like if you're gonna spend $20, you might as well spend $25 type thing, just with millions.
Yeah.
But I mean, my bucket list, Will, we've kind of already talked about this off the air, but my bucket list ends and begins with Dan Lanning. And I know you can't compete with Oregon as far as the money side of things. You could compete with Oregon in the resources and the draw of him being back in the SEC because he does have the roots. All right, he has those SEC roots, and that's a real thing down here. All right, and there's limitations in Oregon. I mean, you got to pull kids out. You got to try to convince a kid from Texas to come play in the Pacific Northwest. Sometimes you're not going to get that kid. No matter how much money you got, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit easier. They can just hop on I-10 and drive east and go to Louisiana. Just saying, there's limitation. I don't think he would ever leave Oregon. I'm not saying like so.
If
If
he
you're
didn't
watching
leave for
this,
Alabama,
and yeah, exactly, he didn't leave for Alabama. Now the Alabama thing's a little different though, Will, because that was when Oregon was kind of effing up. Like Dan Lanning was still new, right? He was still relatively new, and Dan Lynn hadn't like proved that he could sustain that. And he was, he lost he lost the Wash. Remember, he lost that year when Kalen DeBoer was the coach, right? He lost to
mm-hmm.
Washington twice as like
Mm-hmm.
big favorites. Lost them twice, so like there was always that narrative about Dan Lanning. Oh, he's good, but he's never going to be like that. It's like same thing with Ryan Day and all that stuff. I think that's been proven debunked. But whatever. That would be the first phone call I make, and just see if he even entertains it. And then the second phone call, well, honestly, the first phone call you really make is Nick Saban. Like that, like you call that man and you say, "Hey, we can right all those wrongs, all those years of torture. We can right them all." Like you never wanted to leave LSU. Miss Terry. Miss Terry's a big factor in these decisions. You know this, Will. All right, she's a very impactful person. She still hangs out with all her old friends in Baton Rouge. She's a member at the clubs over there in Baton Rouge. She still got all her peoples down there. All right, that would be a phone call I'd make, and I would just entertain it because like the worst he could say is no. But you got to make that phone call and say, "Hey, Nick, give me 5 years. Give me five. Give me 5 of your best years, and let's see what happens." And that would be what I would tell him. And I would legit go that route first, and then I'd call Dan Lanning. And when them two people told me no, I'd just continue on down the list. I love Kirk Cinetti. I'd call Kirk Cinetti first, but I'm not LSU. I don't like. I have no say in this thing. So, I mean, the odd thing here is when the timetable, like, and how this
Yeah.
is going to affect college football and the landscape of things, because we are talking about what 4 major coaching jobs open now, 4
Yeah, and
or
I mean,
5.
all the best coaches who will be wrapped up in the playoff well into January, I don't think they're going to leave.
Well,
So,
also it's like how do these teams lose focus? I mean, we've seen it. I mean, we
mm,
saw Nebraska. Matt Rule was like the favorite to get the Penn State job, and Nebraska, they went on the road and scored 6 points at Minnesota that week. And I mean, are we going to start seeing teams like kind of fall out of this thing? Are we going to see Ole Miss? I mean, Ole Miss they addressed all that stuff
yeah, that wasn't a
supposedly,
problem
but
this last weekend.
Yeah, I
But
mean, like I said, Lane Kiffin addressed it head on. So I mean, I don't know. It is an interesting dynamic, like how this whole thing is going to show out. And like I said, there's a lot of money involved here. A lot of problems are going to come from these new contracts that are going to be given out to all of these top tier programs. Honestly, I I'd put those SEC schools ahead of Penn State. I don't know who wants Penn
yeah,
State.
I would too.
That
Maybe
was the
not
thing that shocked
Arkansas,
me.
but uh,
That's the thing that shocked me the most about them firing James Franklin. It's like, who in the world are y'all going to get that's better? Like
mm-hmm,
Brian Kelly. Like, there's plenty of people that could be better than Brian Kelly at LSU. There's not many people out there that could be better than James Franklin at Penn State. I mean, we can.
mm-hmm.
I'll argue you till the blue in the face. And when Nick Saban like defended him on College Game Day, he was 100% right. By the way, like talking about like no, it's BS. Like you changed the expectations at that program and you got punished for it type thing. A lot different situation than like LSU and Florida and all that stuff. Those teams were very successful before. So it'd
Yeah,
be interesting. I'm interested to see the hot seat stuff going forward.
they better get this next hire right because after this coaching carousel, the buyout for the next guy is going to be like $100 million.
True, and they're just gonna keep
Yeah.
going up.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, like these ads and stuff, got to talk to each other and be like, "Yo, we gotta stop. We gotta stop doing this buyout stuff. Like, can we all just agree, like, as one college football unit, that we don't pay coaches buyouts anymore? Like, nobody does, because that's how it started. Is like one team was like, "Hey, we'll give you a buyout," and then it just snowballed from there. And boy, that was a mistake. Like, f whoever did that first.
Mm.
I don't even know, but my God, they ruined college football for a lot of people to pay freaking coaches to sit on their behinds. Who knows,
Yeah.
man? Maybe they'll hire Coach O. I'm picturing Coach
He's
O.
looking for a new job now, right?
I'm picturing. I'm picturing tomorrow morning team meeting called 9 a.m. Right? He goes Stone Cold Steve Austin. Boom! Kicks the door into the team meeting room. Boom! Boom! Breaks the beer over his head. Throws it. And he's like, I'm back.
He comes
And
in and
he hits
beats
him with,
Alabama, and
we
everything's
coming.
right.
We coming, like immunity. We coming. Like, like he said back in the day. So, I mean, that's what I mean, they already named the interim coach, unfortunately, but so it's
Mm.
not going to be Coach O. But that would be hilarious. I would love to see that
Mm.
personally. Like, they'd have to make a whole Netflix documentary about that. Can you
Yeah.
imagine the coach? Are they doing the SEC documentary again this year?
I
You
don't
you
know.
watched that one on Netflix?
I haven't
Because my
seen it
God,
yet.
that is gonna have some stuff in it.
Let's see. 2025. I'm looking it up. I can't find it out this quickly, but
what
hopefully.
what happened? What happens when Shane leaves and Shane takes the Virginia Tech job?
Mm.
Then we're gonna have another. Then we're gonna have another coaching search.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
I
hoping
I
that
know for
doesn't
a fact
happen.
they're
I
not
think
done.
Beamer's a good fit. I mean, South
I know
Carolina's
for
not LSU, so.
I know for a fact that we ain't done talking about coaches getting fired though. I can promise you that because old Hugh Freeze is next. And
Yeah.
he was done this weekend until he won. Right, surprisingly, shocking the world over there in Arkansas. But
Yeah. There's a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
not happy. A lot of not happy fan bases out there right now.
You got you
Hey,
you got anything else to add? I think it's time.
yeah, we've been
What
talking a
you gonna
long
say?
time. Sleeper underdog. Could they be looking for Dabo? Because Dabo's talked about looking for a new place.
Hell no.
Bunch of thing ain't
Hell
working
no.
out.
Get that fruitcake away from my program. I don't want that man nowhere near LSU. All right? No, absolutely not. Never in a million years would I even call Dabo. Dabo called me, I'd click, double click his ass. Hell no, absolutely not. You know?
Okay.
I mean, I did mess with a Texas fan today on my Twitter. He was like talking about the whole Sark thing and the NFL rumors, and I was like, little did you know that it wasn't the NFL calling, it was LSU. And
Mhm.
Sark's really just the NFL Titans job was just a smokescreen. You know, he's coming to LSU, and that started some shit. But I don't
Mm.
know, man. Let me throw
Yeah,
out
it's
a
gonna be
name
interesting
that
to
would be
watch.
crazy. You know how pissed. First of all, this would make my heart happy just if this happened because I hate these people so much down there. But imagine a world where like Mike Elko is like, I'd rather have the LSU job because you know how many times in like Texas A&M fans' lives like they've been little brother to Texas and like other
Mhm.
teams, right? Like I mean, I just look at the baseball situation, right, where with Schlossnagel or whatever. Like he goes to the national championship with A&M, immediately leaves, takes the Texas job. Like that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. I would sign up in a heart. I love the hire. When A&M made it, I was super nervous about it because I was like, Mike Elko is one of those guys. He's the dog, you know. Another name we didn't talk about, Clark Lee. Does LSU call Clark Lee? I know he's a Vanderbilt guy, but Vanderbilt has limitations that legit limitations like academics and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
they're
So,
not like the other SEC schools, that's for sure.
but I mean, he's a
Mm.
Vanderbilt guy. I don't know, man. It would take a lot. But I mean, we're talking about like double digit $1 million. So like, I don't know what his contract is. I know it ain't nowhere near that. I mean, you're
Mm.
talking about like LSU probably like double his salary, like no doubt. I don't know what Clark Lee's salary is, but
Three
it can't
point seven
be.
million.
So they would triple it, even or no, they would quadruple it probably. I mean, he'd get 12. I mean, Brian Kelly got 10. He'd get 12.
Yeah.
Whoever's getting hired these days is getting 12. I don't know.
Mm.
Dang. All right, we've been
It'll be
talking way
interesting
too
to
long.
watch.
We've been talking way too long. Appreciate you guys if you're still watching. I mean, it was a jam packed. I mean, this is breaking news, so yeah, we're gonna talk long about it. But you know, thank you guys for watching. Follow us on all the socials. We're gonna be doing videos all week. Make sure you go watch the super old irrelevant news now of me talking about Brian Kelly earlier from literally like 6 hours ago. That is completely false and likely irrelevant for the whole scheme of college football. So thanks a lot, LSU, ruining my content for the next 2 to 3 days. But thank you. Like the video, subscribe, leave your comment. Who the heck is going to be LSU's next coach? All right, that's what I want to know. Is just start spitballing some names so I can start drawing up these crazy scenarios for this coaching search. Um, Help us out. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all the socials, on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the TikTok, on everything. Go on your mom's Facebook. Subscribe to us. Make sure she subscribed as well. We'll see you guys. Thank you.